Thank you very much, members. Welcome to Rochford District Council's remote meeting of the Licensing and Appeals Committee, and welcome to anyone watching this via the live stream. First of all, we go to agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor McPherson, Councillor Mr. Jim Gooding. I think there are some others, Sonia?
No, those are the only apologies that we've received in the office, Councillor Williams.
Okay, thank you very much. Substitute item agenda 2, substitute members. None have been notified in advance. Agenda item 3, non-members attending.
Yeah, Arthur, Laureen's been thrown out of the meeting. She can't get back in. I'll send her the link again.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any non-members attending? So I don't think there are there?
There are none, Councillor Williams.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 30th of September. Are the minutes of the meeting held on the 30th of September 2021 agreed, members? I will assume so unless anyone clicks on their raised hand icon. As I can see none, I would presume that is accepted. Thank you. Agenda item 5, to receive declarations of interest. Members, are there any declarations of interest?
Yeah, Councillor Carter, I declare a non-pecuniary interest as I'm a Hackney taxi driver on item 7.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Thank you. No others that I can see. Agenda item 6, consultation of the review of the statement of the Licensing Policy Gambling Act 2005. I'm going to ask Steve Greener, the Council's Principal Licensing Officer, to introduce the report. Thank you, Steve.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone. This report is to consider the statement of licensing under the Gambling Act 2005 for the period of time between 2022 and 2025, following a statutory consultation with the public. Section 349 of the Gambling Act of 2005 requires the council to determine and publish its licensing policy every 3 years. The council's current policy is for the period ending the 30th of January 2022. The policy was revised and approved for consultation between the 10th of September 2001 and the 5th of November 2021. 2021. The draft policy was circulated for consultation to those identified in the report, and the draft policy was displayed at the council offices and on the council's website. And a copy of the final policy is attached as Appendix A. The licensing team contacted 50 interested parties, including the Gambling Commission, the Gambling Anonymous, and local authorities. At the conclusion of the consultation period, the licensing team received just one response from a solicitors, acting as consultants for the trade, highlighting a number of policy areas where the council could clarify in relation to definitions. And Appendix B is a copy of that letter and response. The suggested clarification amendments has been incorporated within the new policy, and these relate to the points that are listed in 3.3. There is no reason for the consultation responses not to recommend the adoption of the policy to take effect from the 31st of January 2022. This policy is next due for renewal by the 31st of January 2025. In relation to the recommendations, it is recommended to the council that the statement of licensing gambling policy is approved for adoption and publication. And that's the end of the summary report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Greener. Does anybody have any questions or needs any points of clarification for this? Right, thank you. Members, at paragraph 8.1, sorry.
Jim, I've got one. Just Councillor Stephen. Just maybe I'm thick and I don't know because I've never really been in a betting shop. What is the difference? It mentions you got to highlight the difference between gambling machines and betting machines. What is the difference?
Yeah, gambling machines and betting machines are different based on their values as to how much that you can have as a stake and also how much you can pay out. So that is the difference. And then what I've done is I've incorporated the wording that is being provided by the Gambling Commission,
Yeah, I saw that.
just to provide a little bit of additional clarity to the members of the public, like I say, that don't fully understand the requirements. So we've incorporated that within the policy.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Right, members, thank you. At paragraph 8.1 on page 6.2, there is one recommendation which recommends to council that the statement of licensing policy Gambling Act 2005-2022 to 2025 be approved for adoption and publication. Members, I will move the recommendation from the chair. Do I have a seconder? I have a seconder. We have a choice. Councillor Mrs. Lorraine Shaw, thank you. All right. Is everybody happy to use the show of hands, the icon, or a show of hands? So could I see a show of hands on the vote on behalf of this, please? I believe that's unanimous.
Yes, Chairman, that is unanimous.
Thank you. Are you okay to proceed, Sonia?
Yes, please, Chairman.
Thank you, members. Motion is carried. Thank you. All those, oh no, we don't need that bit, sorry. I don't, as it was unanimous.
Yeah, it's item 7 now, please, Chairman.
I am, yeah. Item 7, proposal to introduce an earn as you learn private hire driver's badge. Steve Greener, the council's principal licensing officer, will introduce the report.
Thank you very much. This is a request to introduce a earn as you learn private hire driver's badge to encourage new drivers into the trade. There is currently a national licensed driver shortage, and since the pandemic, the council has also seen a reduction in the number of drivers. There's been a number of reasons for the decline. One which has included the drivers have amended their working patterns and focusing on daytime trade rather than the evening and weekend trade. This change has had a knock-on effect to the number of licensed vehicles that operate predominantly on a Friday and Saturday night across the district. The council licensing team has met and has been working closely with the 4 main operators known as the trade to look together to look at short-term and long-term solutions. The proposal by the group, including ourselves, was identified that the current requirements is in place to obtain a Hackney carriage driver's license takes approximately 6 months for the entire process before the driver can obtain their license to work. For those that are seeking alternative employment, they have to take this timescale into consideration with the knowledge test that may not work for up to 6 months while they complete their application process. I've outlined in 3.4 the proposal that would require an applicant to complete before their badge was issued. So firstly, they'll submit an application form and confirming they have a right to work within the UK, and also they'll be working for an existing operator, pay the application fee, demonstrate they have a right to work in the UK, which is either by a passport, pass our maths and English suitability test, comply with the requirements of the Disclosure and Barring Service, which is the old CRB, comply with the requirements around the DVLA driving license requirements, comply with the Group 2 medicals requirements, which all bus drivers and lorry drivers also have to comply with, and also comply with the requirements of providing a reference. Within 6 months of receiving their badge, we will ask them to also pass their disability awareness course, to also complete their safeguarding training, and also as well pass their enhanced driving assessment as well. Within 9 months of them being issued the temporary badge, they will also be asked to pass their full Hackney Carriage driver's knowledge test. If they fail to meet this requirement, then the driver's license will automatically expire at the expiry date printed on the badge, which is 9 months from the date that we issue. If the operator or the licensing team are aware of any concerns relating to the driver, the badge will be suspended immediately. The driver cannot reapply to Rochester District Council until 12 months has passed from the expiry of the Earn As You Learn badge. We have looked at this and I've included it specifically around risk implications and around reputational risks to the council. And we believe this is a low reputational risk because of the number of additional measures that we've asked for in advance. And we'll be working closely with the operators within the licensing team to ensure that any concerns that are raised around a specific driver. Additionally, looking at strategic sort of risks, additional new drivers will help reduce any safeguarding concerns that may raise, specifically relating to Friday and Saturday nights. It has been identified that the waiting time for some pickups can be up to 2 hours at the present time, and if with a vehicle that's being booked. The current low numbers of drivers is also impacting on the travelling public, and specifically those with limited mobility. The lack of drivers indicate those that are reliant on the method of transport could be disadvantaged with the lack of drivers and vehicles that are out there at the present time. I'll jump into the recommendation. It is proposed that the committee resolves that the Rochester District Council, Hackney Carriage and private hire vehicles and operators conditions are amended to allow the Earn As You Learn scheme to operate, and that the effectiveness of the scheme is to be reviewed after 12 months in partnership with the trade. And that is the end of the summary report.
Thank you, Mr. Greener. Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Greener? First of all, we have Councillor FD.
A couple of questions, Mr. Greener. One, you say that one of the main problems is Friday and Saturday night. I'm a little bit concerned that the safeguarding training can be done in the 6 months after they start. Maybe it might be better to do it before they start, depending on how many courses RDC put on. Do we put more than 2 on a year? Is that why it's 6 months, or do we put them on when they want?
The knowledge schools that work with the operators provide the actual training themselves. They're actually accredited. We have a number of approved contractors. So there's no reason why I can't include that within the first criteria if that's the requirement of this committee.
And also you just said there where people having disability. Again, you say that's a problem at the moment, the lack of drivers with that. Surely they must need the training for that too. Maybe that might be a good one before they start. And the last question is, where it says they've got to wait a year if they don't pass the knowledge, is that the same as like a normal taxi driver? Can't they not take it within 28 days or something, and they get 3 chances?
Yes, that's correct. In relation to our conditions around the knowledge test, they're allowed to take 3 tests. And if they fail their 3rd test, then they have to wait 12 months before they can reapply again. So that follows. So
you're just saying so they're just taking 1 test, or do they have the chance to take 3 tests?
They will still have the chance to take 3 tests.
That's fine. Okay, that wasn't clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stanley.
Sorry, Chairman, I wasn't quite ready for that. In front of me. Yeah, 2 questions. To some of these tests that we're asking them to do, could that be the other way around, where they can take those tests before the 6 months? And also my other question is the in effect of the fare of that driver. If that driver doesn't know the route, or what is the route for the charge to the customer, because he's learning the route or learning to be a taxi driver, it could end up with an overcharge or the wrong route, if you like, and make it longer so that it will charge even more. So I have to sort of, I worry about that, because it's learning the route. Does he know? You know, the thing is, we need to be confident that they know the routes of what is allocated in the way of charging. I don't see how this can work if you're learning the routes, and you know, your charge rates will go up.
Thank you, Councillor Stanley.
Yes, in relation to this, it relates to private hire, which means that the booking is made in advance. So they cannot work on the actual taxi ranks. They have to work for an operator, so they will know where they're going from and where they were going to. So they will know before they even do the collection as to where they're going. If we find out that drivers are taking a longer route, that's clearly where I'll be working very closely with the operators to look at these sort of figures. If there's a specific driver is flagging up to us that they are taking the wrong route a lot of the time, then obviously it brings into question as to why they are actually doing that. And then if we do an investigation in conjunction with the operator, then we could effectively suspend that driver. Does that help?
Yeah, well, the other point was that can the earn as you learn sort of thing, can some of the criteria be put in advance of the 6 months? Yeah,
absolutely. If they are keen to complete a lot of this, there's nothing to say that they can't complete it, the whole thing, within a shorter time period. It was just to give them a rough indication of a timescale to work to. They then outlines to the applicants and to the operators, this is what we would expect them to achieve. If they achieve that beforehand, that's absolutely brilliant. It's what we're looking at trying to introduce here as a fast track system to try and, one, address the issues with the numbers of drivers, but also as well to support the trade as well, but also get the drivers through. So we are open to helping what we can.
Does that help, Councillor Stanley?
thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Phil Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Greener, when the learn as you earn license runs out, they can't apply for 12 months. Is that another earn as you learn badge, or have they got to go on to something else?
That depends on whether the scheme is still continuing after the 12-month period. Sorry.
Fair enough.
We would.
Part of that was, it says that they would, a requirement be on the operators to work with the license holders. What is there going to be a time limit for them to do that, to get their full license?
Yes, absolutely. Like I say, we will, once we issue the badge, the initial badge, they then have 9 months to complete the rest of all the other requirements that we have. If they don't complete that, then the badge will automatically expire and we won't allow a renewal of that badge. And then they would have to reapply again, whether they apply as a private hire driver or as a Hackney carriage driver. But if we added that in there, that they couldn't apply within 12 months, if they did apply in advance, I would imagine that they will be appealing against our conditions and maybe have to come in front of yourselves to explain as to why they feel that they should be given different treatment in relation to the conditions.
So going back to my first question, you said, you know, it might not be running in 12 months' time. If it was running, would they be allowed to do the, you know, the same course again, or would they then have to go on to the normal route of doing it?
We would treat them as a new applicant like anyone else, so they would have to do the whole process from start again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Michael Hoy.
Thank you, Chairman. Some of my points have been raised already, but I just want to understand a bit more clearly. I think Councillor Efty's point about the safeguarding course particularly was interesting, because I believe we used to run those courses ourselves and now we don't. so the cost has gone up. And I think cost of becoming a taxi driver in Rochford has gone up quite a lot over the last few years. Which, sorry, I've raised my hand again, which may be one of the problems. However, I agree with Councillor FD, and I'm not sure if he proposed it or not, but if he did, I would like to second it, that we put the disability training and the safeguard training before they can actually start driving, because I think that's really important. And I would just like to pick up this again. This happened last time in the licensing committee, that the equality and diversity implications do not mention this. They just put a positive spin on it, but they don't say that there could be a negative impact if the taxi drivers don't have disability training. And I think that's been missed. And I think we need to look at the way we use the equality and diversity implication part of our reports more carefully, because that was definitely missed. The other side of it, I think Councillor Phil Shaw had a very good point with the what do you do if you failed the earn as you learn, then you do another earn as you learn in 12 months time. I don't think that's right. I think you should then go on to the normal one. You've got 12 months to do your knowledge again. There's no reason why you need to do earn as you learn. So I think it should be a one time only. You can only do this once. Apart from that, I still have my doubts about it. I'm not sure why we feel that we should cut corners in the quality of the training required for our taxi drivers just because there's a shortage. But they're just the points I'd like to make. So I'm not sure if I'm voting for it yet or not, but I'll see what other councillors say apart from what I've just said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I understand that Councillor FD has put in an amendment and you seconded it. So, but if you don't mind, we'll take the rest of the questions first and see how we go from there before we put that to the vote.
Sorry, Chairman, I didn't actually put it in yet because I was waiting till everybody else spoke. So it might have been more than what I'd said.
Okay, so if we could just, okay, wait. Well, thank you. Councillor Mike Carter.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to reiterate what Steve said. There is, I mean, being a taxi driver now, there is a major shortage. And getting back to Councillor Stanley's worry about whether or not they will cheat on the fares, I can assure you that most of our punters that we pick up know what the fare should be where they're going, if they know where they're going, and they know if they've been cheated, and they do phone the office and let us know if someone's done a dodgy deal. So, but what else do I need to say? I'd like to thank Steve for his report on this, and his colleagues done a good job. Well done, Steve. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you,
but no, that was my main point, that most people that we pick up, if they go into the hospital or doctors or they know what the fare should be. So if anybody's doing a funny, they will let us know.
Right, thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We have Councillor Newport indicating, and also Councillor Gadsden. So I'll take Councillor Newport first, if you don't mind.
My question is, whilst I understand that there are a shortage of taxi drivers, is this whole scheme just to help to alleviate the fact that we don't have enough cab drivers on a Friday and Saturday night?
Yes, this is a main concerns that we had when talking to the trade was, when is their busy period? When do they have a lot of calls? And this is to mainly focus on the Friday and Saturday nights. It may be that there is a shortage on other nights that obviously are then identified with the trade, but specifically we are focusing on the Friday and Saturday nights, especially in high footfall areas. If there is a big delay in people being collected and having to wait around for 2 hours, that certainly is a concern for us, certainly within the licensing team.
But we can't dictate what hours they work, can we?
No.
So it's not really going to alleviate the problem if if taxi drivers don't want to work a Friday and Saturday night. It's not really going to alleviate that problem.
It will certainly address some of the concerns if we have more drivers out there. And like I say, we're working with the operators as well. Okay, we can't sort of stipulate that they have to work on a Friday and Saturday night. That may be something that the operators themselves bring in, and maybe one of the requirements that when people are applying, the operators might want to apply that themselves to obviously address their shortfalls in their areas that they're trying to improve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does that help, Councillor Newport?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gadsden.
Knowledge being a bit of a barrier in order for people to become taxi drivers. I'm just wondering how essential is full knowledge with sat navs, etc., that most minicab companies use now. So is that something we've taken into account, that sat navs will also help with directions, should offset any risk of overcharging? So I'm wondering if maybe the knowledge has become a bit too much of a barrier for people to become drivers.
Yes, we had that discussion around standards, and we've also had that conversation with the drivers as well. They like the knowledge test. It gives also the customers a little bit of reassurance that they have gone through this criteria to learn all the roads. The knowledge test is not easy, and I can see Councillor Carter nodding his head, that's had to go through it himself. It shows that they are dedicated to learning the roads, the routes, places of interest that is relevant to Rochford. The reason why I've introduced this, like you say, is technology has moved on, and there is the use of sat navs and things like that. But sometimes there are times that sat navs may mislead, may take you down the wrong routes, or might have any sort of system failures. So that's why we would always ask for the knowledge tests as well. So yes, we do accept that there are pre-booked, so you should know where you're going from A to B, but there's always sort of that what if sort of situation, and yeah, we like to still maintain that full knowledge test.
Right, okay.
Before we call Councillor Stanley, Steve, I presume that as these are hire cars, if you like, the drivers will be briefed by the company before they do the job itself, I presume.
Yes, absolutely. As I said, because they're pre-booked and every booking has to be in advance, so they will know where they're picking up their client from and where they'll be taking them to. So they can also do the research before they even collect the passengers. So there shouldn't be any reason why they should suddenly go off a different route, unless there is, like I say, there's road issues that are clearly identified. But we will clearly be working with the operators if there is a specific driver that is constantly coming to our attention that is overcharging or not behaving as what we would expect them to do.
And can you tell me how many drivers we have at the moment on licensed by us?
Yes, funny enough, I had a request only recently, and I've got the figures here in front of me. I've got the figures for January 2020. I can tell you what those were for Hackney Carriage, and what we have is from January 2022. So in January 2020, we had 309 Hackney Carriage drivers. And January 2022, we currently have 215 taxi drivers. So we've had a 30% reduction in the last 2 years.
And what is the most that we would be able to have licensed at any one time? Is there a limit?
No, there is no limit. We have not set any limit on the number of drivers.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chairman. There was no disrespect when I mentioned about the value of the taxi driver. I know this is only to do with the new taxi drivers that are applying to be taxi drivers, and not the ones that have already got their license and everything. It was mentioned just now that there is no guarantee that these new taxi drivers, earn as you learn, will be working on a Friday or Saturday evening, and there's no guarantee that the proprietors of the taxi firms can enforce that at all. As you know, it just depends on that person if they want to do that particular time, night work or whatever it is, unless you're employed as doing that. And obviously the wages, if you like, make up that extra night shift, if you like. There's been a lot of talk on the underground at the moment for the night shift, and they're having troubles for people being employed to drive the trains. And I think this is going to be the same sort of thing. I know it's taxis, I know what you're saying, but you've got to remember that these people do have lives. They don't necessarily need to work at night. If they've got sufficient funds during the day, then that's fine. Often you see quite a few taxis, 13, 14 taxis in the high streets waiting for to take people in their taxis. So yeah, I don't, there is no criteria to turn around and say that people, these earn as you learn people will have to work of a night time. And I'm particularly worried about the if you like, and I'm going to say female drivers. I'm particularly worried about that in the way of getting them to work of an evening or night time, not the night shift, if you like, because there is a lot to deal with. I've seen it on the television. You've seen it yourself. People being sick in the back of your cab and that sort of thing.
Councillor Stanley, I think we're moving away from the point here.
What I'm saying to you is there anything that we should be looking at in the way of security to these drivers, that, or are we just relying upon the proprietors of the business?
Okay, thank you. I would presume, I'm not sure if Steve can answer this, but I would presume that the more drivers we have, the more incentive there would be for them to work the later shifts just to earn the money, I presume.
Absolutely, yes. The more drivers that we have out there, that obviously it will reduce the waiting times, but also as well, we are working very closely with the operators. We obviously can bring something to the table, but obviously the operators also have a duty as well to look at this as well with us. We said that we will propose this to you. I know that some of the operators have already started advertising that they are actually willing to pay for the application fee in advance, so there's no initial outlay fee to a new applicant, so they will cover the fee and then over a period of time they'll pay it back. So they're taking their responsibilities as well to try and encourage new drivers into the system. As you say, there's not anything that we can stipulate on the license around the times that they can work, but that may be something that the operators themselves have as part of their terms and conditions.
Yeah, thank you. We have Councillor Daniel Lefty and Councillor Phil Shaw indicating we've discussed this quite a lot now, so we'll just have these two councillors. And then
I was going
to the vote.
Raise the amendment to the report.
Right,
so I don't know if Councillor Shaw wants to add anything before I do that.
Councillor Shaw.
Yeah, all I was going to say, and Steve's actually mentioned it, I mean, it could be down to the operators when they're looking for new drivers, advertising. I mean, they could say, these are the hours we're expecting you to work. I mean,
yeah, that's up to them.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, if they want drivers for Friday and Saturday, that they would put that, you know, this is the hours and the days we want you to work. So that would hopefully would cover it.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Right, and Chairman, can I put the amendment to the report?
Yes, please. Can you?
I'd like to amend the report for the disability awareness and the safeguarding training to have to take them before they actually start driving.
I can second that.
Yeah, we have a seconder from Councillor Michael Hoy. Councillor Gadsden, yeah, you have something quickly to say?
I was seconding.
Oh, we have two seconders. We're spoiled for choice. Thank you. All right. First of all, we need to take a vote on that, on the amendment. So can I see a show of hands, please, in favour of the amendment? The amendment, first of all. I believe that's unanimous, as far as I can see.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So that amendment is. Would you like to clarify that amendment? How you understand it, Sonia? Or would that be best?
My understanding is that the recommendation has been amended to include the requirement for these drivers to undertake the safeguarding and disability training before they start work.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Members, at paragraph 8.1 on page 7.5, there are two recommendations, one of which has been amended, and that's that the Rochford District Council Hackney Carriage and Private Hire driver vehicle and operator licence conditions be amended to allow the Earn As You Learn scheme to operate, and two, that the effectiveness of the scheme be renewed after 12 months in partnership with the trade. Members, I will move the recommendation from the chair with the appropriate amendments. Do I have a seconder?
Whoever you want, Chairman.
Yeah, another sport for choice. Thank you. Are you happy, members, to vote en bloc on both recommendations? I will assume agreement unless you click on the raised hands icon or raise your hands manually. There seems to be nobody objecting. So voting. Now, please unmute yourself now and tell me if you are not able to use the electronic hand icon and raise your hand manually so it can be counted. Voting will be done with electronic show of hands. All of those in favour of the recommendations, please click on the raised hand icon once or raise your hand.
And that's unanimous, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, members. Please lower your electronic hands. You will need them lowered before we continue. I believe that's the end of the meeting as far as I can see now. Yes, thank you very much for attending. It's much appreciated. Thank you for your assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night all. Thank you.